This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Notorious 5, Part 16. When we left off, India was under pressure to find out where the Queen Mother lives. She's convinced Wise to be her spy. Little does she know, he already is a spy, and she's the mark. He's bugged her home and bugged and cloned her cell phone. Q's made arrangements for his cousin Salima to fly from New York City to Texas that evening. He needs her help figuring out just how involved Aunt Jira is in the plot against the Queen Mother. So after the Queen Mother had her conversation with Dr. Beth, and Pops Andy had his conversation with Dr. Peter, which you know all about if you watched the bonus episode, Q was preparing for his cousin Salima's arrival. While he and Angela were discussing what they already knew so far, he got a call from Ron, Anya's husband. Ron said, "Frat, you and I need to have a private conversation." Q said, "Okay." At that moment, Maribel walked into the room. She was there to check on Angela. So Q asked her if he and Ron could meet briefly at her estate. They needed a private place to have a secure conversation. Maribel gave the okay, and then she called over to her estate to let her security know to be expecting both men. Shortly thereafter, in Maribel's study, Ron tells Q all about the day that Anya FaceTimed him, hysterical. He dropped everything, ran out of his office, rushed to the location where she had pulled over and parked on the side of the road, and was blown away by the tale she weaved. When she was done, he insisted that they call the police immediately. And then she told him that she believed she killed Christian. He immediately agreed to help her cover it up. But not being 100% sure what to do and being completely new to this, Ron followed Anya home and then went back to the park. But he went in at another entrance. When he got to the spot where Anya said she was assaulted by Christian, he found absolutely nothing. No Christian and no sign that he'd ever been there. He scoured the park for over an hour and still found nothing. When he returned home, he and Anya were on pins and needles. The next morning, they went to the courthouse and got married. Then, Anya read the letter from Donovan. In it, he confessed to following Anya to the park, entering it after she left, and handling the problem. Ron said, "I need to know if Donovan's telling the truth or if this is some weird attempt to protect his sister." Q said, "Until Donovan comes back, there's no way to confirm one way or the other. What I can say is that Christian entered the park. Anya entered the park. Anya left the park. Donovan entered the park. He exited the park. Christian never did. Then someone showed up at the park under the cover of darkness, wheeled in a large bin easily, and then wheeled it out with some difficulty. I can also tell you that Christian was never found in that park, but some of his personal property was, and it's no longer in the park." Ron almost collapsed with relief. He said, "Please tell me that this is over." Q said, "Frat, I wish I could." No matter what kind of man he was, he had a family. And what family do you know who isn't going to look for their family member when they disappear months after being released from prison? Meanwhile, over at the estate, Stephanie has pulled Maribel to the side. She wants to pick her brain about something. She said, "So cousin, can you tell me some holistic, safe ways to induce labor at home?" Maribel said, "No, I can't. Self-induction is ill-advised. There are, however, natural remedies that a woman who's 38 weeks pregnant or more can utilize to prepare her body for the eventuality that labor will come. And I'd be glad to share those with you." Stephanie said, "That's not what I'm asking. There has to be a way to actually induce it, not just prepare for it." Maribel said, "Of course there is, but that's not something that I would advise unless a woman is or is approaching 42 weeks pregnant. Your baby and your body know when it's time. You're only 34 weeks, correct? Why is that something you're even asking?" Stephanie said, "'Cause I'm interested. Is that okay with you?" Maribel just stared. And then Stephanie said, I've been considering a home birth. I don't really want to do the whole hospital thing. My doctor's been talking about inducing labor at the hospital, using Pitocin and having me on monitors and IVs, and I'm not interested in doing any of that. So if he's going to induce me anyway, I might as well figure out how to do it at home. Maribel said, well, that's understandable. But do you at least have a midwife or a doula who'll be attending you? Stephanie said, women been having babies at home for centuries without midwives, doulas, doctors, hospitals, or any of that. Maribel said, most women don't intentionally have babies at home without some kind of assistance. Midwives date back to biblical times. Labor isn't really something women intentionally do alone. Is this something that you and Corey plan to do by yourselves? Stephanie said, it's not a plan. I'm just gathering information. Earlier that day, Stephanie gave True the recording devices when she dropped her off at the airport to head to Denver. True left Dallas a few hours before Corey did. When she arrived in Denver, she headed to the hotel, checked in, dropped her stuff in her room, and waited. When Lorenzo sent her the digital key for Kim's room, she headed downstairs to the lobby, grabbed a seat where she could see people coming, going, and coming down on the elevator, and waited for Kim to exit the hotel. She already knew that Kim was responsible for picking Corey up from the airport. And just as she watched Kim cross the lobby of the hotel, heading to valet parking, she got another alert on her phone from Lorenzo. Corey had checked in online and received his digital key. True just shook her head when she realized that Kim and Corey's rooms were across the hall from one another. She quickly positioned herself by a window and watched as the valet pulled up in Kim's Lexus and she hopped in. When she drove off, True headed to the third floor where both Kim and Corey were staying. She used the clone digital key to Kim's room to let herself in and then placed two almost imperceptible bugs in the room, one in the bedroom and one in the hallway, strategically placed to capture video and audio in the sitting room and the bathroom. Then she searched the room. When she opened Kim's suitcase, the pastor had the audacity to have a brand new box of condoms and lingerie inside. True took pictures, sent them to Stephanie, and headed to Corey's room. She placed 3 additional bugs in his room, one in the bedroom, one in the bathroom, and one in the sitting room. But she had to work hard to place them in places where they wouldn't be easily found because Corey's a federal agent. As soon as Stephanie confirmed that all the bugs were working, True hightailed it to her room. She donned a disguise, changed her clothes, and hurried to the lobby. The first event of the conference, the meet and greet, was scheduled to happen in 4 hours. According to Kim and Corey's itineraries, they would be checking into the hotel, dropping their bags, and then meeting the event organizers in the event room to ensure that everything was set up as expected. Then they'd be having an early dinner with all of the individuals involved in planning the event immediately before the meet and greet was scheduled to begin. So True knew that the two would be returning soon. Just as she saw Kim's Lexus pull up in the hotel's drive, she got another text from Stephanie. Stephanie had placed a bug in Corey's briefcase because she knew that he didn't go too many places without it. And the tracker showed that Corey and his briefcase had just arrived at the hotel. So True watched as Kim pulled up to the valet stand and Corey got out of the vehicle. He waved over the bellhop and True slid outside. Pretending to be engaged in a conversation on her cell phone, she listened as Corey told the bellhop that he needed to get to the event room and he needed his bags dropped off to his room. When the valet asked True if she needed anything, she handed him her car slip. Then she watched as Corey tipped the valet and the bellhop. Kim got out of the vehicle, the bellhop loaded the cart, and Kim and Corey went inside. As soon as the valet went to get into Kim's car, True said, "I'm sorry, young man. I know you need to park that car. But is there any way that you can grab mine first really quickly? I've got an emergency, and I'll make it worth your while." And then she handed him a $50 bill. Distracted and hyped, about the $50. The valet tossed Kim's key fob in the safe, grabbed True's rental car keys, and jogged off to the valet parking deck without locking Kim's car. When True saw that the coast was clear, she sidled over to the back door, slid it open, and slipped a bug in the compartment on the back of the front passenger side seat, quickly closed the door, and stepped back. Meanwhile, in Dallas, it's a mini family reunion. Q, Angela, LJ, Regina, Pops Andy, the Queen Mother, and Lorenzo are welcoming Selima to the great state of Texas while picking her brain about Aunt Jira's most recent visit to New York City. Samuel's daughter, Selima, was the only member of the family who was still in contact with Aunt Jira. She'd help Aunt Jira out financially every now and again and fly her to New York City to visit for a few weeks. Selima would also go to Trinidad to visit regularly, and she would always stop in on her Aunt Jira. So Selima had flown Aunt Jira to New York right before the ambush on the family in Texas. When Aunt Jira found out that the Queen Mother and Anya were in Trinidad hiding out, she tried to leave New York early. But Selima knew that her Aunt Bella wouldn't have wanted to see her Aunt Jira, so she refused to spend the extra money to change Aunt Jira's flight. Eventually, Jira relented, and while she was there, she heard about the Fashion and Beauty Expo. She begged Selima to take her. She told Selima that there was a brand there that she followed on Instagram, and she wanted to buy a few of the products and meet the owner. It wasn't until after they got there that Selima found out that the business she was referring to was Angela's. Selima said, "I never told her, Q, what it was that your wife did for a living. She knew that you had gotten married, but I never told her about Vibrantly You." Q said, "So what happened?" Selima said, "Well, we got to the booth, and she was disappointed to see that the chief of operations was there and not the owner, and she started chatting the woman up." When Q looked at Angela, Angela said, "Babe, we had our wedding on social media, remember? Well, not the ceremony, but leading up to it. So she had to have seen you." Q said, "Right." Selima said, "So the woman, what was her name?" Angela said, "Bernie." Selima said, "Yep, that's her name." So she said that she knew a Baptiste family in Texas. The whole family groaned. "That damn Miss Bernie." The Queen Mother said, "I told you that I don't trust her. I've never trusted her. I don't understand why she always running her mouth." Selima said, "Well, Aunt Jira made it seem like they were both putting two and two together. I didn't realize that she had seen the stuff about the wedding on Instagram, because I was there, so I wasn't watching Instagram. So then her and Bernie arranged to meet after the expo for drinks. But Aunt Jira knew I already had a date, so I wasn't going to be able to go with her. She went without me, and when she got back, she claimed that she hadn't shared any family secrets with Bernie, and that Bernie didn't share anything with her that I hadn't already shared with her." The Queen Mother said, "What have you been sharing with her, Selima?" Selima said, "Aunt Bella, I'm sorry, but over the years, I've been telling her about Q and Donovan and Anya. I haven't said anything about you and Uncle Andy, though. She said that she missed her niece and her nephews, and she just wanted to know if they were okay. So I gave her high-level stuff, like when they was in college and had kids and got married, you know." The Queen Mother asked, "Do you know why I cut Jira off and why your father cut her off too?" Selima said, "Yeah, she told me that for some reason you and my pops believed that her not being harmed in the attack on the family house back in Trinidad was suspicious." Q said, "That's the same thing that she told Bernie." The Queen Mother said, "And your father never told you?" Selima said, "He never talks about it. And I didn't feel comfortable asking you because whatever it was, I knew it was very upsetting. I was a kid when whatever all transpired, so I know how y'all are. Y'all tell when y'all ready to." Q said, "And this is the problem with family secrets." Then the Queen Mother told Selima the real reason why both she and her brother Salem cut Jira off. Shocked, Selima said, "I am so sorry. I understand why you didn't tell me what was going on at the time, but you've always kept it real with me. So I'm going to have to break Aunt Jira's confidence if you truly believe that she's somehow connected to a plot against you. The Queen Mother said, I believe it. And Q said, and so do I. Then Selima said, you killed the father of that baby that she aborted.